Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to this riba, and he uses a methodology of a stage-by-stage explanation, and he uses a stage-by-stage process through which to eradicate riba. In the first stage, he teaches the subject. The first revelation came down in Surah Al-Rum, somewhere in the middle of the Meccan period, halfway before the Hijrah. And in that first revelation, the language is still mild but sufficiently strong to wake us up to how important this subject is. He says, وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن رِبًا لِيَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ فَلَا يَرْبُو عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. And that which you put out, that which you invest as a riba transaction, that your capital might increase in the wealth of others, meaning at the expense of others. فَلَا يَرْبُو عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. It will not increase with Allah. Allah is displeased with this. وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ. This is, remember, Makkah. So now zakat in Makkah is charity, voluntary charity. That which you give in charity. وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ. And when you give that charity, you do it seeking Allah's pleasure. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. It is this transaction which will lead to multiple increase with Allah. And so he begins to teach the subject of the prohibition of riba through a contrast. He disapproves of riba, but he approves of charity. And so we are now forced to think, what is there in the contrast between riba and charity which helps us to understand what is riba? I spent about 3 or 4 months driving my car all over New York asking this question. It took me 3 to 4 months before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his kindness finally allowed me to understand why. But it took Yusuf only 5 minutes. Where's Yusuf? It took Yusuf only 5 minutes. Yusuf is from Chile. Santiago probably took the Shahada, became a Muslim. He's with us now. It only took him 5 minutes. What is there in the contrast between riba and charity? The answer is that in a perfect act of charity, not the kind of stuff that France gives to Indonesia. No. In a perfect act of charity, not aid as imperialism. No. In a perfect act of charity, you give and you take nothing in return. That's charity. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. When we feed you, when we give you, we do it for Allah's sake. We do not seek from you anything in return. We do not even demand that you should show gratitude. This is charity. A perfect act of riba is exactly the opposite. In a perfect act of charity, you give and you take nothing in return. In a perfect act of riba, you take and you give nothing in return.